Okay, this is Catherine Rhea Scott again with Catherine Rhea Scott Charities, and I am in the process of giving you part 2 of the amazing story of how House of New Beginnings was laid upon my heart and how God had intervened and saw to it that it went from vision to reality. I left off in part 1 that we were at Karen and John's house, and John and I had prayed about where we were to go regarding the 14 people that God had given us to visit. We had determined that we'll visit the 7 people that we know, and the Lord would reveal who the other 7 were along the way somehow, some way. So I left Kathy there at the house after John and I had prayed, and I decided to go see my very good friend Susan. And while I went over to Susan's house, I was telling her the amazing things. That number 1, I had taken Kathy to the Planned Parenthood. Number 2, how the Lord had spoken to me concerning the abomination that was there, and how he wanted me to start a home for unwed pregnant teenagers. How I gave him the 3 things that had to come to pass, and that the first one came to pass where he had put it in writing, and secondly, that he would give me a partner. So those 2 things had already occurred, and I was very excited about how the Lord had intervened. So I shared this with my friend Susan. And as I was sharing with her that the Lord had laid these 14 people on our hearts, and that we only knew 7 of them, she said, well, who were the other 7? And I told her, and she said, man, I know Ruth. You need to go see Ruth. Ruth would be the person to go see. And so we had our first person that we did not know, and we went ahead and decided to go ahead and see Ruth. Well, while I was over there to see Ruth, then Ruth introduced us to her friends, and on down the line we went from one person to the next, visiting all 7 of the people that were on the list. And so the next day, I went ahead and I visited several of the pastors that were on the list. And I'm thinking, okay, Lord, this is really great. This is going to be great. They will be the ones that will support the ministry. Well, lo and behold, I went to see all 7 pastors, and every one of those 7 pastors at the time said, no way. Ha! No way. You know, you're nothing. There's nothing here to support. And boy, was I disappointed. I'm thinking, man, I read that wrong somehow or another. But the last pastor that I had visited on that list happened to be my own pastor at the time. And I was telling him about what had happened. And of course, he was the same pastor that had said previously, God doesn't speak to people in voices, and God doesn't have visions, and God doesn't reveal words of knowledge, etc., etc. Anyway, I went to see him and tell him, how the Lord had laid this on my heart. And again, he was not supportive. He was very critical, stating that, I knew nothing. How could you do it? You don't know anything about starting a nonprofit. You don't know anything about pregnant teenagers. You don't know anything. And I remember quoting to him this one thing. I said, do you remember when you were pastoring and you said 1 and God is a majority? Well, that's the way it is. God called me. That's all there is to it. And with God, it will come to pass. So with that, I'll leave that particular portion of the New Beginnings story, and we'll see you the next time. Again, this is Catherine Rhea Scott, presently with Catherine Rhea Scott Charities, and soon you'll be hearing more about what's going on with that charity. But right now, we're going over how the Lord had talked with me 30 years ago or so regarding starting the House of New Beginnings. So please stay tuned for part 3 after this. Thank you.